Spí, usni, dítě moje, usni, mamučka, stopoj. Ty, moja milá, nie gruzty, nie placz. Nie gruzty, nie placz.
I'm getting choked to the bone. What can Freddie be doing all this time? He's been gone 20 minutes.
Not so long, but he ought to have us a cab by this.
He won't get no cab till 11:30, missus, when they come back after dropping off their theatre fares.
But we must have a cab. Can't stand here until 11:30. It's too bad.
Well, it ain't my fault, missus.
If Freddie had a bit of gumption, he would have got one at the theatre door.
What would he have done, poor boy?
Other people got cabs. Why couldn't he? Well, haven't you got a cab?
There's not one to be had for love or money.
Oh, Freddie, there must be one. You can't have tried.
It's too tiresome. Do you expect us to go and get one ourselves?
I tell you, they're all engaged. The rain was so sudden, nobody was prepared, and everybody had to take a cab. I've been to Charing Cross Station one way, and nearly to Ludgate Circus the other, and they were all engaged.
Did you try Trafalgar Square?
There wasn't one at Trafalgar Square.
Did you try?
I tried as far as Charing Cross Station. Do you expect me to walk to Hammersmith?
You haven't tried at all.
You really are very helpless, Freddie. Go again and don't come back until you've got us a cab.
I shall simply get soaked for nothing.
And what about us? Are we to stay here all night in this drought with next to nothing on, you selfish pig?
Very well. Very well. I'll go. I'll go.
Now then, Freddie. Look where you're going, dear.
Sorry.
There's manners for you. Two bunches of violets trodden to the mud. How do you know my son's name is Freddie, Trey? Oh, he's your son, is he? Well, if he'd done duty by him as a mother should, he'd know better than to spoil a poor girl's flowers then run away without paying. Will you pay me for them?
Do nothing of the sort, Mother. The idea.
Please, allow me, Clara. Have you any pennies?
No, I've nothing stored than 6 pence.
I can give you change for a tenner, kind lady. This is for your flowers. Thank you kindly, lady.
Make her give you the change. These things are only a penny a bunch.
Do hold your tongue, Clara. You can keep the change. Oh, thank you, lady. Now, tell me how you know that young gentleman's name. I didn't. I heard you call him by it. Don't try to deceive me. He was trying to deceive you. I called him Freddie or Charlie, same as you might himself if he was talking to a stranger and wished to be pleasant.
6 pence thrown away. Really, Mamma, you might have said Freddie that.
Phew!
Oh, sir, are there any signs of it stopping?
I'm afraid not. It started whistling ever about 2 minutes ago.
Oh, dear. If it's worse, it's a sign of nearly over. So cheer up, Captain, and buy a flower for poor girl.
I'm sorry. I haven't any change.
Oh, I can give you change, Captain.
For a sovereign, I have nothing less.
Go on. And do buy a flower off me, Captain. I can change half a crown. Take this for twopence.
And now don't be troublesome. There's a good girl. I really haven't any change. Stop. Here's 3 appence, if that's any use to you.
Thank you, sir.
You be careful. Give him a flower for it. There's a bloke here copying down every blessed word you're saying.
I don't even want my speaking to the gentleman. I've a right to sell flowers if I keep up the cab. I'm a respectable girl, so help me. I never spoke to him except to ask him to buy a flower off me.
Don't start hollering. Who's hurting you? Nobody's gonna touch you.
What's the good of fussing?
Steady on.
Easy, easy.
Shut her head.
What's wrong with her?
What's the room? What's she do? Where is he? A tech taking it down.
What? Him? Him over there took money off the gentleman.
Certainly couldn't charge me. You do know what it means to me. They'll take away my character and throw me on the streets for speaking to gentlemen.
There. Who's hurting you, you silly girl? What do you take me for?
It's all right. He's a gentleman. Look at his boots. She thought you was a copper's knock, sir.
What's a copper's knock?
It's a copper's knock, as you might say. What else would you call it? A sort of informer.
I take my paddle over never said a
Oh,
word.
shut up! Shut up! Do I look like a policeman to
Well,
you?
then what did you take down my words for? How do I know whether you took What you preach about me? What's that? That ain't proper writing. I can't read that.
I can. Cheer up, Captain, and how you floor of a poor girl.
Oh, it's because I called him Captain. I meant no harm. Oh, sir, don't let him lay a charge against me for a word like that.
A charge? I make no charge. Really, sir, if you are a detective, you need not begin protecting me against offence by young women until I ask you. Anybody could see that the girl meant no harm.
Of course they could.
What business is it of yours? You mind your own affairs. He wants a promotion, he does. Taking down people's words.
Girl never said a word to him. What harm if she did? Nice thing a girl can't get shelter from the rain without being insulted. He ain't a tech. He's a blooming busybody. That's what he is. I'll tell you. Look at his boots.
And how are your people down at Selsey?
Who told you my people come from Selsey?
Never you mind. They did. So how do you come to be up so far east? You were born in Listen Grove.
Oh, what harm is there in my leaving Legion Grove? It wasn't fit for a pig to live in, but I had to pay for it 6 a week.
Live where you like, but please stop that noise. Come, he can't touch you. You have a right to live while you please.
Park Lane, for instance. I'd like to go to the house in question with you, I would.
Good girl I am.
And do you know where I come from?
Foxton.
Well, who said I didn't? Blimey, you know everything you do.
Ain't no call to meddle with me, he ain't.
Of course he ain't. Don't you stand here from it. See here, what call have you to know about people who've never offered to meddle with you? Where is your warrant? Yeah, where's your warrant?
Let him say what he likes. I didn't want to have no trouble with him.
You take us for the dirt under your feet, don't you? Catch you taking liberties with a gentleman. Yeah, tell him where he come from if you want to go into fortune telling.
Cheltenham, Harrow, Cambridge, and India. Quite right.
He knows all about it. Tell him proper.
Hear him tell the toff where he come from.
May I ask, sir, do you do this for your living at a music hall?
Thought of it. Perhaps I shall someday.
He's no gentleman, he ain't. Interfere with a poor girl.
What on earth is Freddie doing? I shall get pneumonia if I stay in this dirt any longer. Will you please keep your impertinent remarks to yourself?
Oh, did I say that out loud? I didn't mean to. Beg your pardon. Your mother's Epsom, unmistakably.
How very curious. I was brought up in Lodge Lady Park near Epsom.
Large lady, what a devil of a name. Excuse me, you want a cab, do you?
Don't dare speak to me.
Oh, please, Clara. We should be so grateful to you, sir, if you found us a cab. Oh, thank you. There! I knew he was a plainclothes copper. That ain't a police whistle. That's a sporting whistle.
He's no right to take away my character. My character is the same to me as any lady's.
I don't know whether you've noticed, but it stopped raining about 2 minutes ago.
So it has. Why didn't you say so before? And us losing our time listening to your silliness. I can tell where you come from. You come from Arnswell. Go back there.
Hanswell.
Thank you, teacher. So long.
Frightening people like that. How would he like it himself?
It's quite fine now, Clara. We can walk to a motor bus. Come.
But the cab. Oh, how tiresome.
Oh, poor girl. Not enough for her to live without being riveted and chivied.
How do you do it, if I may ask? Simply phonetics, the science of speech. That is my profession and also my hobby. Happy is the man who can make a living by his hobby. I can place any man within 6 miles, sometimes within 2 streets.
Ought to be ashamed of himself, unmanly coward.
But is there a living in that? Oh, yes, quite a fat one. This is the age of upstarts. Men begin in Kentish Town with £80 a year and end in Park Lane with 100,000. They want to drop Kentish Town, but they give themselves away every time they open their mouths. Now I
Let him mind his own business and leave a poor girl.
Please, cease this detestable boo-hooing instantly, or else seek the shelter of some other place of worship.
I've a right to be here if I like, same as you.
A woman who utters such depressing and disgusting sounds has no right to be anywhere, no right to live. Remember that you have the divine gift of articulate speech. And don't sit there crooning like a bilious pigeon. Heavens, what a sound!
Gone?
You see this creature with her curbstone English, the English that will keep her in the gutter until the end of her days. Well, sir, in 3 months I could pass that girl off as a duchess at an ambassador's garden party. I could even get her a place as a lady's assistant or someone in a shop. That's the sort of thing I do for commercial millionaires. And on the process of it, I do genuine scientific work in phonetics.
I am myself a student of Indian dialects, and
Are you? Do you know Colonel Pickering, the author of Spoken Sanskrit?
I am Colonel Pickering. Who are you?
Henry Higgins, author of Higgins' Universal Alphabet.
I came from India to meet you.
Well, I was going to India to meet you.
Where do you live?
27A Wimpole Street. Come and see me tomorrow.
I'm at the Carlton. Come with me now and let's have a jar over some supper.
Right you are.
Buy a flower coin, gentlemen.
I really haven't any change. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm short for my lodging, but I haven't any change either.
Liar, you said you could change half a crown.
You ought to be stuffed with nails, you ought. Here, take the whole blooming basket for 6 pence.
A reminder.
Oh! Oh! Oh!
Got one at last. Hello? Where are the 2 ladies that were here
We walked to the bus when the rain stopped.
and left me with the cab on my hands? Damnation.
Never you mind, young man. I'm going home in a taxi.
Well, I'm dashed.
Well, I think that's the whole show.
It's really amazing. I haven't taken half of it in, you know.
Would you like to go over any of it again?
No, thank you, not now. I'm quite done up for this morning.
Tired of listening to sounds?
Yes, it's a fearful strain. I rather fancied myself because I can pronounce 24 distinct vowel sounds, but your 130 beats me. I can't hear a bit of difference between most of them.
Oh, that comes with practice. You hear no difference at first, but you'll keep on listening, and presently you'll find they're as different as A from B. What is the matter?
A young woman wants to see you, sir.
A young woman? What does she want?
Well, sir, she says if you'd like to see her, wants to know what she's come about. She's quite a common girl, sir, very common indeed. I should have sent her away, but really, you see such queer people sometimes. You'll excuse me, I'm sure.
Oh, that is quite all right, Mrs. Pierce. Has she an interesting accent?
Oh, something dreadful, sir, really. I don't know how you can take an interest in it.
Show her up, Mrs. Pierce.
Very well, sir. It's all to say.
You know, Pickering, this is rather a bit of luck. I'll show you how I make records. We'll set her talking, and I'll take it down first in Bell's visible speech, and then in broad Romic. And then we'll get her on the phonograph so you can turn her on as often as you like with the written transcript before you.
This is the young woman, sir.
Oh! Why, this is the girl I jotted down last night. She's no use. I've got all the records I want of the Listen Grove lingo, and I'm not going to waste another cylinder on it. Be off with you. I don't want you.
Don't you be so saucy. You ain't heard what I come for yet. Did you tell him I come in a taxi?
Nonsense, sir. What do you think a gentleman like Mr. Eggins has what you can?
Oh, we are proud. We ain't above giving lessons, not him. I heard him say so. Well, I ain't come here to ask for any compliments, and if my money's not good enough, I can go elsewhere.
Good enough for what?
Good enough for you. Now you know, don't you? I'm come to have lessons, I am, and to pay for him too, make no mistake.
Well, what do you expect me to say to you?
Well, if you was a gentleman, you might ask me to sit down, I think. Don't I tell you I'm bringing you business?
Pickering, shall we ask this baggage to sit down, or shall we throw her out of the window?
I want to be called a baggage when I've offered to pay like any lady.
What is it you want, my girl?
I want to be a lady in a flower shop instead of selling at the corner of Tottenham Court Road. But they won't take me unless I can talk more genteel. He said he could teach me. Well, here I am ready to pay him, not asking any favour, and he treats me as if I was dirt.
How could you be such a foolish, ignorant girl as to think that you could afford to pay Mr. Eggins?
Why shouldn't I? I know what lessons cost as much as well as you do, and I'm ready to pay.
How much?
Now you're talking. I thought you'd come off it when you saw a chance of getting back a bit of what you chucked at me last night. You'd had a drop in, hadn't you?
Sit down.
Oh, if you're going to make a compliment of it.
Sit down!
Down, Crow. Do as you're told.
Oh,
Won't you sit down?
don't mind if I do.
What is your name?
Eliza Doolittle. Don't be silly.
You mustn't speak to the gentleman like that.
Well, why won't he speak sensible to me?
Come back to business. How much do you propose to pay me for lessons?
Oh, I know what's right. A lady friend of mine gets French lessons for 18 pence an hour from a real French gentleman. Well, you wouldn't pay me, I wouldn't pay you the same to teach me my own language, so I won't give more than a shilling. Take it or leave it.
You know, Pickering, if you consider a shilling, not a simple shilling, but as a percentage of this girl's income, it works out as fully equivalent to 60 or 70 guineas from a millionaire.
How so?
Figure it out. A millionaire has about £150 a day. She earns about half a crown.
You told you I only earned half a
She
crown.
offers me 2/5 of her day's income for a lesson. 2/5 of a millionaire's income for a day would be somewhere about £60. It's handsome. By George, it's enormous. It's the biggest offer I ever had.
£60? What are you talking about? I never offered you £60. Where would I get
Hold
60?
your tongue.
But I ain't got £60.
And don't cry, you silly girl. Sit down. Nobody's going to touch your money.
Somebody is going to touch you with a broomstick if you don't stop snivelling. Sit down.
One would think you was my father.
If I decide to teach you, I'll be worse than two fathers to you. Here,
What's this for?
to wipe your eyes. To wipe any part of your face that feels moist. Remember, that is your handkerchief, and that is your sleeve. Do not mistake the one for the other if you wish to become a lady in a shop.
So if nobody's talking to her like that, Miss Davis, she doesn't understand you. Besides, you're quite wrong. She doesn't do it that way at all.
Here. Don't take my handkerchief. He gave it to me, not to you.
Did. I think it must be regarded as her property, Mrs. Pierce.
Lovely right, Miss Davis.
Higgins, I'm interested. What about the ambassador's garden party? I'll say you're the greatest teacher alive if you make that good. I'll bet you all of these expenses of the experiment you can't do it. And I'll pay for the lessons.
Oh, you are real good. Thank you, Captain.
It's almost irresistible. She's so deliciously low, so horribly dirty.
Oh, I ain't dirty. I washed my hands and face before I came, I did.
You certainly aren't going to turn her head with flattery, Higgins.
Yes, but
Take all her clothes off and burn them. Ring up Whiteley or somebody for new ones. Wrap her up in brown paper until they come.
You're no gentleman, you're not, to talk of such things. I'm a good girl, I am, and I know what the like of you are, I do.
Oh, we want none of your Listen Grove prudery here, young woman. You've got to learn to behave like a duchess. Take her away, Mrs. Pierce. If she gives you any trouble, wallop her.
No, I'll call the police, I will.
I've no place to put her.
Oh, put her in the dustbin.
Oh!
Come, Higgins, be reasonable.
You must be reasonable, Mr. Eggins. Really, you must. You can't walk over everybody like that.
Oh, I walk over everybody, do I? All I propose is that we should be kind to this poor girl. We must help her to prepare and fit herself for her new station in life. If I did not express myself clearly, it was because I did not wish to hurt her delicacy or yours.
Well, did you ever hear anything like that, sir?
Never, Mrs. Pierce, never.
What's the matter?
Well, the matter is, sir, is that you can't take a girl up like that as if you were picking up a pebble on the beach.
Why not?
Why not? But you don't know anything about her. What about her parents? She may be married.
Gone.
There, as the girl very properly says, gone. Married indeed. Don't you know that a woman of that class looks a worn-out drudge of 50 a year after she's married?
You'd marry me.
Oh, by George, Eliza, the streets will be strewn with the bodies of men shooting themselves for your sake before I've done with you.
Where's your mother?
No, I ain't got no mother. Oh, they turned me out with my sick stepmother. What I done without her? And I'm a good girl, I am.
Very well, then. What on earth is all this fuss about? This girl doesn't belong to anybody. She's no use to anybody but me.
But what's to become of her? Is she to be paid anything? Do be sensible, sir.
Pay her whatever is necessary. Put it down in the housekeeping book. What on earth will she want with money? She'll have her food and her clothes. She'll only drink if we give her money.
Oh, you are a brute. It's a lie. Nobody ever saw the sign of liquor on me.
Does it occur to you, Higgins, that the girl has some feelings?
Oh, no, I don't think so. Not any feelings that we need be concerned about. Have you, Eliza?
I got my feelings same as anyone else.
You see the difficulty?
Oh, what difficulty?
To get her to talk grammar. The mere pronunciation is easy enough.
I don't want to talk grammar. I want to talk like a lady.
Will you please keep to the point, Mr. Eggins? I want to know on what terms the girl is to be here. Is she to have any wages? And what's to become of her when you've finished your teaching? You must look ahead a little.
What's to become of her if I leave her in the gutter? Tell me that, Mrs. Pierce.
That's her own business, not yours, Mr. Eggins.
Well, when I'm done with her, we can throw her back into the gutter, and then it'll be her own business all over again. So that's all right.
Oh, you've no feeling heart in you. You don't care about nothing but yourself. Here, I've had enough of this. I'm going. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, you ought.
Listen, Eliza. I think you said you came in a taxi.
Well, what if I did? I've as good a right to take a taxi as anyone else.
Oh, you have, Eliza. And in future you shall have as many taxis as you want. You shall go up and down and round the town in a taxi every day. Think of that, Eliza.
Mr. Eggins, you're tempting the girl. It's not right. She should think of the future.
Oh, at her age? Nonsense. Time enough to think of the future when you haven't any future to think of. No, Eliza, do as this lady does. Think of other people's futures, but never think of your own. Think of chocolates and taxis and gold and diamonds.
No! I didn't want any of gold and no diamonds. I'm a good girl, I am.
And you shall remain so, Eliza, under the care of Mrs. Pierce. And you shall marry an officer in the guards with a beautiful moustache, the son of a marquis who will disinherit him for marrying you, but will relent when he sees your beauty and your goodness.
Excuse me, Eggins, but I really must interfere. Mrs. Pierce is quite right. If this girl is to put herself in your hands for 6 months for an experiment in teaching, she must understand thoroughly what she's doing.
Oh, how can she? She's incapable of understanding anything. Besides, do any of us understand what we are doing? If we did, would we do it?
Very clever, Eggins, but not sound sense. And Miss Doolittle.
There! That's all you get out of Eliza. Oh! No use explaining. As a military man, you ought to know that. Give her orders. That is what she wants. Eliza, you are to live here for the next 6 months, learning how to speak beautifully like a lady in a florist's shop. If you're good and do whatever you're told, you shall sleep in a proper bedroom and have lots to eat and money to buy chocolates and take rides in taxis. If you're naughty and idle, you will sleep in the back kitchen among the black beetles and be walloped by Mrs. Pierce with a broomstick. Now, are you satisfied, Pickering? Can I put it any more plainly, Mrs. Pierce?
I think you'd better let me speak to the girl properly, in private. I don't know that I can take charge of her, or consent to the arrangement at all. Of course, I know you don't mean her any harm, but when you get what you called interested in people's accents, you never think or care what may happen to them, or to you. Come with me, Eliza.
That's all right. Thank you, Mrs. Pierce. Bundle her off to the bathroom.
You're a great bully, you are. I don't stay here if I don't like. I won't let nobody wallop me. I was never in trouble with the police, not me. I'm a good girl, I
Don't
am.
answer back, girl. You don't understand the gentleman. Come
Well,
with me.
what I say is right. I always been a good girl. I never offered to say a word for him. I don't owe him nothing, and I don't care, and I won't let myself be put upon until I have my feelings the same as anyone else.
Excuse the straight question, Eggins. Are you a man of good character where women are concerned?
Oh, have you ever met a man of good character where women are concerned?
Yes, very frequently.
Well, I haven't. I find that the moment I let a woman make friends with me, she becomes jealous, exacting, suspicious, and a damned nuisance. I find that the moment I let myself make friends with a woman, I become selfish and tyrannical. Women upset everything. When you let them into your life, you find that the woman is driving at one thing and you're driving at another.
At what, for example?
Oh, Lord knows. I suppose that the woman wants to live her own life and the man wants to live his. And each tries to drag the other into it. You know, one wants to go north and the other south, and the result is that they both end up going east, so they both hate the east wind. So here I am, a confirmed old bachelor, and likely to remain so.
Come, Higgins, you know what I mean. If I'm to bring in this business, I shall feel responsible for that girl. I hope it's understood that no advantage is to be taken if it positioned.
What? That thing? Sacred, I assure you. You see, she'll be a pupil, and teaching would be impossible unless pupils were sacred. I've taught scores of American millionairesses how to speak English. The best-looking women in the world. I'm seasoned. They might as well be blocks of wood. I might as well be a block of wood. It's...
I just wish to trouble you with a word, if I may, Mr. Higgins.
Oh, yes, certainly. Come in. Oh, don't burn that, Mrs. Pierce. I'll keep it as a curiosity.
Oh, answer it carefully, sir, please. I'd promise her not to burn it, though I'd better put it in the oven for a while.
Oh, thank you. Well, what have you to say to me?
Your mind away?
Oh, not at all, sir. Mr. Higgins, will you please be very particular with what you say before the girl?
Oh, of course. I'm always particular about what I say. Why do you say this to me?
No, sir, you're not at all particular when you've mislaid anything, or when you get a little impatient. Now, it doesn't matter before me, I'm used to it. But you really must not swear before the girl.
Oh, I swear? Oh, I never swear. I detest the habit. What the devil do you mean?
That's what I mean, sir. You swear a great deal too much. Now, I don't mind your damning and blasting and what the devil and where the devil and who the devil.
Oh, really, Mrs. Pierce, this language coming from your lips.
But there is a certain word I must ask you not to use. The girl has just used it herself because the bath was too hot. It begins with the same letters, bath. But she knows no better. She looked at her mother's knee. But she must not hear it from your lips.
Oh, I cannot charge myself with having ever uttered it, Mrs. Pierce. Except, perhaps, in a moment of extreme and justifiable excitement.
Only this morning, sir, you applied it to your boots, to the butter, and to the brown bread.
Oh, that mere alliteration, Mrs. Pierce, natural to a great poet like myself.
Well, sir, whatever you choose to call it, I beg you not to let the girl hear you repeat it.
Oh, very well, very well. Is that all?
No, sir. We shall have to be very particular with this girl as to personal cleanliness.
Oh, certainly. Quite right. Most important.
Yes, sir. Then might I ask you not to come down to breakfast in your dressing gown, or at any rate not to use it as a napkin to the extent you do, sir. And if you would be so good as not to eat everything off the same plate, and to remember not to put the porridge saucepan out of your hand onto the clean tablecloth. It would be a better example to the girl. You know, you nearly choked yourself with a fishbone in the jam only last week.
I made you these things in absence of mine, but surely I don't do them habitually. Oh, by the way, my dressing gown smells damnably of benzene.
Oh, no doubt it does, Mr. Higgins. But if you will wipe your fingers...
Oh, very well, very well. I'll wipe them in my hair in the future.
I hope you're not offended, Mr. Higgins.
Oh, not at all, not at all. You're quite right, Mrs. Pierce. I shall be particularly careful before the girl. Is that all?
No, sir. Might she use some of those Japanese dresses you brought from abroad? I really can't put her back in her old things.
Certainly, anything you like. Is that all?
Thank you, sir. That is all.
You know, Pickering, that woman has the most extraordinary ideas about me. Here I am, a shy, diffident sort of man. I've never been able to feel really grown up and tremendous like other chaps. And yet she's firmly persuaded that I'm an arbitrary, overbearing, bossing kind of person. I can't account for it.
If you please, sir. The trouble's beginning already. There's a dustman downstairs. Alfred Doolittle wants to see you. Says you have his daughter here.
Phew, I say.
Send the blackguard up.
Oh, very well, sir.
He may not be a blackguard, Higgins.
Oh, nonsense. Of course he's a blackguard.
Whether he is or not, I'm afraid we shall have some trouble with him.
Oh, no, I think not. If there's any trouble, he shall have it with me, and not I with him. And we are sure to get something out of him.
About the girl?
Oh, no, I mean his dialect.
Oh.
Doolittle, sir.
Professor Higgins?
Here, good morning. Sit down.
Morning, Governor. I come about a very serious matter, Governor.
Brought up in Hounslow, Mother Welsh, I should think. What do you want, Doolittle?
Well, I want my daughter, that's what I want. See?
Of course you do. You are her father, aren't you? And you don't suppose anybody else wants her, do you? Well, I'm glad to see you have some spark of family feeling left. She's upstairs. Take her away at once.
What?
Take her away. Do you suppose I'm going to keep your daughter for you?
Now, look here, Governor. Is this reasonable? Is it fair to take advantage of a man like this? The girl belongs to me. You got her. Where do I come in?
How dare you come here and attempt to blackmail me? You sent her here on purpose.
No, Governor.
No, you must have. How else could you possibly know that she was here?
I don't take a man up like that, Governor.
The police shall take you up. This is a plan, a plot to extort money by threats. I shall telephone for the police.
If I ask you for a brass farthing, I'll leave it to the gentleman here. If I said a word about money,
What else did you come for?
well, what would a man come for? Be human, Governor.
Alfred, did you put her up to it?
So help me, Governor, I never did. I take my Bible oath I ain't seen the girl these 2 months past.
So then how did you know she was here?
Well, I'll tell you, Governor, if only you let me get a word in. I'm willing to tell you. I'm wanting to tell you. I'm waiting to tell you.
Pickering, this chap has a certain natural gift of rhetoric. Observes the rhythm of his native wood notes wild. I'm willing to tell you. I'm wanting to tell you. I'm waiting to tell you. Sentimental rhetoric. That's the Welsh strain in him. It also accounts for his mendacity and dishonesty. So you came to rescue her from worse than death, eh?
Just so, Governor, that's right.
But why did you bring her luggage if you intended to take her away?
If I said a word about taking her away, have I now?
Oh, you're going to take her away double quick.
No, Governor. Don't say that. I'm not a man to stand in my girl's light. It's a career opening for her, as you might say, and...
Mrs. Pierce, this is Eliza's father. He has come to take her away. Give her to him.
No, this is a misunderstanding. Listen here.
You can't take her away, Mr. Higgins. How can he? You told me to burn her clothes.
That's right. I can't carry the girl through the streets like a bloomin' monkey now, can I? I'll put it to you.
You have put it to me that you want your daughter. Take your daughter. If she has no clothes, go out and buy her some.
Where's the clothes she come in? Did I burn them or did your missus here?
I am the housekeeper, if you please. I've sent for some clothes for your girl. When they come, you can take her away. You can wait in the kitchen. This way, please.
Listen here, Governor. You and me is men of the world, ain't we?
Oh, men of the world, are we? Mrs. Pierce, you'd better leave.
I think so indeed, sir.
The floor is yours, Mr. Doolittle.
Oh, thank you, Governor. Well, the truth is, I've taken a sort of fancy to you, Governor, and if you want the girl, I'm not so set on having her back. But what I might be open to is an arrangement. As a young woman, she's a fine, handsome girl. As a daughter, she's not worth her keep, and so I tell you straight. So what's a £5 note to you? What's Eliza to me?
I think you ought to know, Doolittle, that Mr. Higgins' intentions are entirely honourable.
Of course they are, Governor. If I thought they wasn't, I'd ask 50.
How are you saying, you callous rascal, that you're willing to sell your daughter to us?
Well, not in a general way I wouldn't, but to oblige a gentleman like yourself, I do a good deal, I do assure you.
Have you no morals, man?
Can't afford 'em, Governor. Neither could you if you was as poor as me. Not that I mean any harm, you know. But if Liza's going to have a bit out of this, why not me too?
Oh, I don't know what to do, Pickering. There can be no question that as a matter of morals, it's a positive crime to give this chap a farthing. And yet I feel a sort of rough justice in his claim.
That's it, Governor. That's all I say. A father's art, as it were.
Well, I know the feeling, but really it seems hard
Don't
to
look
write.
at it that way. What am I, Governors both? I ask you, what am I? I'm one of the undeserving poor, that's what I am. It means that he's up again in middle-class morality all the time. Will you take advantage of a man's nature to do him out the price of his own daughter, who is brought up and fed and clothed by the sweat of his brow until she's grown big enough to be interesting to you two gentlemen? Is £5 unreasonable? I'll put it to you, and I'll leave it to you.
Pickering, if we were to take this man in hand, for 3 months he could choose between a seat in the cabinet and a popular pulpit in Wales. I suppose we must give him a fiver.
He'll make a bad use of it, I'm afraid.
Yeah, here you are.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning. Oh, beg pardon, miss.
Go on! Don't you know your own daughter?
Blimey,
What's
it's
that,
Eliza.
miss?
By Jove!
Don't I look silly?
You silly.
No, Mr. Higgins, please don't say anything to make the girl conceited about herself.
Oh, quite right, Mrs. Pierce. Yes, damn silly.
Please, sir.
I mean, extremely silly.
I should look all right with my hat on.
Oh, a new fashion by George, it ought to look horrible.
Well, I never thought she'd clean up as good looking as that, Governor. She's a credit to me, ain't she?
I tell you, it's easy to clean up here. Hot and cold water on tap, just as much as you like there is. Woolly towels there is, and a towel or so hot it burns your fingers. Soft brushes to scrub yourself, and a wooden bowl of soap smelling like primroses. Now I know why ladies are so clean. Washing's a treat for 'em. Wish they saw what it was for the like of me.
I am glad the bathroom met with your approval.
It didn't. Not all of it. And I don't care who hears me say it. Mrs. Pierce knows.
What was wrong, Mrs. Pierce?
Oh, nothing, sir. It doesn't matter.
Oh, I had a good mind to break it. I didn't know which way to look. But I hung a towel over it, I did.
Over what?
Over the looking glass, sir.
Oh, Doolittle, you have brought your daughter up too strictly.
Me? I never brought her up at all, except to give her a lick of a strap now and again. Don't put it on me, Governor. She ain't accustomed to it, you see, that's all. But she'll soon pick up your free and easy ways.
I'm a good girl, I am, and I won't pick up no free and easy way.
Eliza, if you say again that you are a good girl, your father shall take you home.
Not him. You don't know my father. All he come here for was to touch you for some money to get drunk on.
Well, what else would I want money for? To put into the plate at church, I suppose. Don't you give me none of your lip. And don't let me hear you giving these gentlemen any of it neither, or you'll hear from me about it, see?
Have you any further advice to give her before you go, Doolittle? Your blessing, for instance?
No, Governor, I ain't such a mug as to put up my children to what I know myself. Hard enough to hold them in without that. If you want Eliza's mind improved, Governor, you do it yourself with a strap. So long, gentlemen.
Stop! You will come regularly to see your daughter. It's your duty, you know. My brother is a clergyman, and he could help you in your talks with her.
Well, certainly I'll come, Governor. Just not this week, because I have a job at a distance. But later on, you may depend on me. Afternoon, gentlemen. Afternoon, ma'am.
Don't you believe the old lawyer? He doesn't use such a bulldog on him as a clergyman. You won't see him again in a hurry.
I don't want to, Eliza. Do you?
Not me. I don't want never to see him again, I don't. He's a disgrace to me, he is. Collecting dust instead of working at his trade.
What is his trade, Eliza?
Talking money out of other people's pockets and into his own. His proper trade's narving. And he works at it sometimes too. For exercise. And earns good money at it. Ain't you going to call me Miss Doolittle anymore?
I beg your pardon, Miss Doolittle. It was a slip of the tongue.
Oh, I don't mind. Only it sounded so genteel. Oh, I should just like to take a taxi to the corner of Tottenham Court Road and get out there and tell it to wait for me, just to put the girls in their place a bit. I wouldn't speak to them, you know.
Better wait till they get you something really fashionable.
And besides, you shouldn't cut your old friends now that you have risen in the world. That's what we call snobbery.
Oh, you don't call the like of them my friends now, I should hope. They took it out of me often enough with their ridicule when they have the chance. And now, I mean to get a bit of my own back.
Now, Eliza, the new things have come for you to try on. Oh, don't rush about like that, girl.
Pickering, we have taken a stiff job.
Higgins, we have indeed.
Henry, what are you doing here today? It is my at-home day. You promised not to come.
Good morning to you too, my esteemed mother.
Go home at once.
No, Mother. I came on purpose.
But you mustn't. I'm serious, Henry. You offend all my friends. They stop coming whenever they meet you.
Nonsense. I know that I have no small talk, but people don't mind, really.
Oh, don't they? Small talk indeed. What about your large talk? Really, dear, you mustn't stay.
I must. I've a job for you. A phonetic job.
No use, dear. I'm sorry, but I can't get around your vowels. And although I like to get pretty postcards in your patent shorthand, I always have to read the ordinary copies you so thoughtfully sent me.
No, this isn't a phonetic job.
You said it was.
Not your part of it. I've picked up a girl.
Does that mean a girl has picked you up?
Oh, not at all. I didn't mean a love affair.
What a pity.
Why?
Well, you never fall in love with anyone under 45. When will you discover that there are some rather nice-looking young women about?
Oh, please, I would never get into the way of seriously liking young women. My idea of a lovable woman is someone as like you as possible. You know, some habits lie too deep to be changed. And besides, they're all idiots.
Do you know what you'd do if you really loved me, Henry?
Oh, bother. What? Marry, I suppose?
No. Stop fidgeting and take your hands out of your pockets. That's a good boy. Now tell me about the girl.
Oh, she's coming to see you.
I don't remember asking her.
It's because you didn't. I asked her. If you'd known her, you wouldn't have asked her.
Indeed. Why?
Well, it's like this. She's a common flower girl. I picked her off the curbstone.
And you invited her to my at home?
Oh, that'll be all right. I've taught her to speak properly. She's to keep to two subjects, the weather and everybody's health. Fine day and how do you do, you know, and not to get on things in general. That will be safe.
Safe? To talk about our health, about our insides, perhaps about our outsides. How could you be so silly, Henry?
Well, she must talk about something. Oh, she'll be all right, don't you fuss. Pickering isn't it with me? I've a sort of bet on that I'll pass her off as a duchess in 6 months. I started on her some months ago, and, well, she's getting on like a house on fire. I shall win my bet. She has a quick ear, and she's been easier to teach than my middle-class pupils, because she had to learn a complete new language. She talks English like you speak French.
That's satisfactory at all events.
Well, it is and isn't.
What does that mean?
You see, I've got her pronunciation down all right, but you have to consider not only how the girl pronounces, but what she's pronouncing, and that's where...
Mrs. and Miss Eynsford Hill.
How do you do? How do you do? My son, Henry.
Oh, your celebrated son. I've so longed to meet you, Professor Higgins.
Delighted.
How do you do?
I've seen you before somewhere. I haven't the ghost of a notion where, but I've heard your voice. Never mind, you'd better sit down.
I'm sorry to say that my celebrated son has no manners. You mustn't mind him. I don't.
Not at all.
Oh, have I been rude? I didn't mean to be.
Colonel Pickering.
How do you do, Mrs. Higgins?
So glad you've come. Do you know Mrs. Eynsford Hill? Miss Eynsford Hill?
Has Enric told you what we've come for?
We were interrupted, damn it.
Oh, Henry. Henry, really?
Are we in the way?
No. You couldn't have come more fortunately. We want you to meet a friend of ours.
Why, yes, by George. I'll need 2 or 3 people, and the lot of you will do as good as anybody else.
Mr. Eynsford Hill.
God of heaven, another of them.
Howdy do.
Very good of you to come. Colonel Pickering,
Howdy do.
I don't think you know my son, Professor Higgins.
Howdy do.
I'll take my Bible oath I've met you before somewhere. Where was it?
I don't think so.
Sit down. Here we are, anyhow. Now, what the devil are we to talk about until Eliza comes?
Henry, you are the life and soul of the Royal Society's forays. But really, you're more trying at more commonplace occasions.
Oh, am I? Very sorry. I suppose I am, you know.
I sympathize. I haven't any small talk. If people would only be frank and say what they really think.
What they think they ought to know is bad enough, but what they really think is... it would break up the whole party. Do you really suppose it would be agreeable if I were to come out and say what I really think?
Is it so very cynical?
Cynical? Who the dickens said it was cynical? No, I mean it wouldn't be decent.
Oh, I'm sure you don't mean that, Mr. Higgins.
You see, we're all savages, more or less. We're supposed to be cultured and civilized, but really, what do we know of poetry or philosophy or science or art? You know, what does Clara know of poetry? And what do you know of science? And what does Freddie know of, well, anything? And what the dickens do you think I know of philosophy?
Or of manners, Henry?
Miss Doolittle.
Oh, here she is, Mother.
How do you do, Mrs. Higgins? Mr. Higgins told me I might come.
Quite right. I'm very glad indeed to see you.
How do you do, Miss Doolittle?
Colonel Pickering, is it not? I feel we have met before, Miss Doolittle. I remember your eyes. How do you do? My daughter Clara. How do you do?
How do you do?
I've certainly had the pleasure.
My son Freddie. How do you do?
Oh, by George, it all comes back to me. Covent Garden. Ha! What a damned thing.
Henry, please.
Sorry.
In a train, do you think?
The shallow depression in the west of these islands is likely to move slowly in an easterly direction. There are no indications of any great change in the barometrical situation.
How awfully funny.
What is wrong with that, young man? I bet I got it right.
Indeed.
I'm sure I hope it won't turn cold. There's so much influenza about. It runs right through our family every spring.
My aunt died of influenza, so they said.
Oh.
But it's my belief they done the old woman in.
Done her in?
Yes, Lord love ye. Why should she die of influenza? She come through diphtheria right enough the year before. I saw her with my own eyes. Fairly blue as if she was. They all thought she was dead, but my father kept ladling gin down her throat.
Dear me.
What car would a woman with that strength in her have to die of influenza? And what to become of her new straw hat that should have come to me? Somebody pinched it, and what I say is, them as pinched it done her in.
And what does doing her in mean?
Oh, that's the new small talk. To do someone in means to kill them.
You surely don't believe that your aunt was killed.
Do I not? Them she lived with would have killed her for a hat pin, let alone a hat.
But it couldn't have been right for your father to toss spirits down her throat like that. It might have killed her.
Not her. Gin was mother's milk to her. Besides, he poured so much down his own throat that she knew the good of it.
Do you mean that he drank?
Drank? My word. Something chronic.
How dreadful for you.
Not a bit. It never did him no harm what I could see. But then he did not keep it up regular. There's lots of women has to make their husbands drunk to make them fit to live with. It's like this. If a man has a bit of conscience, it always takes him when he's sober, and then it makes him low-spirited. A drop of booze just takes it off and makes him happy. What are you sniggering at?
The new small talk. You do it so awfully well.
Well, if I was doing it proper, what was he laughing at? Have I said anything I oughtn't?
Not at all, Miss Doolittle.
Oh, well, that's a mercy anyhow. What I always say is... Oh, well, I guess I must be going. So pleased to have met you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Colonel Pickering.
Goodbye, Miss Doolittle.
Goodbye, all.
Are you walking across the park, Miss Doolittle?
What? Not bloody likely. I am going in a taxi.
Well, I really can't get used to the new ways.
Oh, it's all right, Mamma, quite right. People will think we never go anywhere. See, anybody, if you are so old-fashioned.
I dare say I am very old-fashioned, but I do hope you won't begin using that expression, Clara. I've got accustomed to hear you talking about men as rotters and calling everything filthy and beastly, though I do think it horrible and unladylike. But this last is really too much. Don't you think so, Colonel Pickering?
Don't ask me. I've been away in India for several years, and manners have changed so much that I sometimes don't know whether I'm at a respectable dinner table or on a ship's forecastle.
It's all a matter of habit. There's no right or wrong in it. Nobody means anything by it. And it's so quaint and gives such a smart emphasis to things that are in themselves not very witty. I find the new small talk delightful and quite innocent.
Well, after that, I think it's time for us to go.
Let's go still. Goodbye, Mrs. Higgins. Goodbye, Mr. Higgins.
Be sure you try on that small talk at the 3 at Holmes. Don't be nervous about it. Pitch it in strong.
Such nonsense, all this early Victorian prudery.
Such damned nonsense.
Such bloody nonsense.
Clara!
Well, I ask you goodbye.
Goodbye. Would you like to meet Miss Doolittle again?
Yes, I should. Most awfully.
Well, you know my days.
Yes, awful thanks. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr. Higgins.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
It's no use. I shall never bring myself to use that word.
Don't. It's not compulsory, you know. You got on quite well without it.
Only, Clara's so down on me if I'm not positively reeking with the latest slang. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
You mustn't mind, Clara. We're so poor and she gets such few parties, poor child. She doesn't quite know. But the boy is nice, don't you think so?
Oh, quite nice. I shall always be delighted to see him.
Thank you, dear. Goodbye.
Well, is Eliza presentable?
No, you silly boy. Of course she's not presentable. She's the triumph of your art and other dressmakers, but if you suppose for a moment that she doesn't give herself away with every sentence she utters, you must be perfectly cracked about her.
But don't you think something might be done? I mean, something to eliminate the sanguinary element from her conversation?
Not as long as she's in Henry's hands.
Do you mean that my language is improper?
No, dearest, it would be quite proper, say on a canal barge, but it would not be proper for her at a garden party.
Well, I must say...
Come, Higgins, you must learn to know yourself. I haven't heard such a language as yours since we used to review the volunteers in Hyde Park 20 years ago.
Oh, if you say so, I suppose I don't always talk like a bishop.
Colonel Pickering, will you please tell me the exact state of things in Wimpole Street?
Well, I have come to live there with Henry. We work together at my Indian dialects, and we think it more convenient.
Quite so. I know all that. It's an excellent arrangement. But where does this girl live?
Well, with us, of course. Where else would she live?
But on what terms? Is she a servant? If not, what is she?
I think I know what you mean, Mrs. Higgins.
Well, dash me if I do. I've had to work at that girl every day for months to get her to a present pitch. Besides, she's useful. She knows where my things are and remembers my appointments and so forth.
How does your housekeeper get on with her?
Mrs. Pierce? Oh, she's jolly glad to get so much taken off her hands. For before Eliza came, she had to find my things and remind me of my appointments. But she's got some silly bee in her bonnet about Eliza. She keeps saying, "You don't think so," doesn't she, Pick?
Yes, that's the form I like. You don't think so? That's the end of every conversation about Eliza.
As if I ever stopped thinking about that girl and her confounded vowels and consonants. I'm worn out thinking about her and watching her lips and her teeth and her tongue, not to mention her soul, which is the quaintest of the lot.
You certainly are a pretty pair of babies playing with your live doll.
Oh, playing? The hardest job we ever tackled. Make no mistake about that, mother. But you have no idea how frightfully interesting it is to take a human being and change her into a quite different human being by creating a new speech for her. It's filling up the deepest gulf that separates class from class and soul from soul.
Yes, it's enormously interesting. I assure you, Mrs. Higgins, we take Eliza very seriously. Every week, every day almost, there is some new change. We keep records of every stage, dozens of gramophone discs and photographs.
Yes, by George! It's the most absorbing experiment I ever tackled. She regularly fills up her lives, doesn't she, Pick?
We're always talking Eliza.
We're teaching Eliza.
Dressing Eliza.
What?
Inventing new Elizas. You know, she has the most extraordinary...
I assure you, my dear Mrs. Higgins, that girl is a genius.
Just like a parrot. I've tried it with every...
She played the piano quite beautifully.
Possible sort of sound a human
You've
being
taken her
can
to
make.
classical concerts and to musicals.
Continental dialects, African dialects, hot
And it's all the same to her. She plays everything
Things
she
it took
hears.
me years to get hold of.
Right off when she comes
And she
home.
learns them like a shot right away.
Whether
as
it's
if she had
Beethoven and Brahms or
been
Lehar
at
and
it all her
Morton.
life.
Stop!
I beg your pardon?
Sorry. When Pick gets on about things, no one can get away.
Be quiet, Henry. Colonel Pickering, don't you realize that when Eliza walked into Wimpole Street, something walked in with her?
Her father did, but Henry soon got rid of him.
It would have been more to the point if her mother had. But as she didn't, something else did.
But what?
A problem.
I see, the problem of how to pass her off as a lady.
Oh, I'll solve that problem. I've solved it already.
No, you two infinitely stupid male creatures. The problem of what is to be done with afterwards.
I don't see anything in that. She can go her own way with all the advantages I've given her.
The advantages of the poor woman I saw just now. The manners and habits that disqualify a fine lady from earning her own income without finding a fine lady's wage. Is that what you mean?
Oh, that'll be all right, Mrs. Higgins.
We'll find her some light employment.
She's happy enough. Don't you worry about her.
Anyhow, there's no good bothering now. The thing's done. Goodbye, Mother.
There are plenty of openings. We'll do what's right. Goodbye.
Let's take her to the Shakespeare exhibition at Earl's Court.
Yes, let's. Her remarks will be delicious.
All the people first when we get home.
Ripping.
Why do I even bother?
I say, Pick, lock up, will you? I shan't be going out again.
Right. Can Mrs. Pierce go to bed? We don't want anything more, do we?
Oh, Lord, no.
I say, Mrs. Pierce will worry if we leave these things lying about in the drawing room.
Oh, chuck them over the banisters into the hall. She'll find them there in the morning and put them away all right. She'll think we were drunk.
We are slightly. Are there any letters?
Oh, I didn't look.
Oh.
Oh, I wonder where the devil my slippers are.
Only circular, then this coronated billet doux for you.
Moneylender. Oh, Lord, what an evening! What a crew! What a silly tomfoolery! Oh, they're there, are they?
Well, I feel a bit tired. It's been a long day. The garden party, a dinner party, and the opera. Rather too much of a good thing. But you have won your bet, Higgins. Eliza did the trick, and something to spare,
Thank God it's over.
eh? Were you nervous at the garden party? I was. Eliza didn't seem a bit nervous.
Oh, she wasn't nervous. I knew she'd be all right. No, it's the strain of putting the job through all these months that has told on me. It was interesting enough at first. Well, we were at the phonetics, but after that I got deadly sick of it. If I hadn't backed myself to do it, I should have chucked the whole thing up 2 months ago. It was a silly notion. The whole thing has been a ball.
Oh, come! The garden party was frightfully exciting. My heart began beating like anything.
Well, yes, for the first 3 minutes. But when I saw we were going to win, hands down, I felt like a bear in a cage, hanging about doing nothing. I tell you, Pickering, never again for me. No more artificial duchesses.
You've never been broken in properly to the social routine. I was quite frightened once or twice because Eliza was doing it so well. You see, lots of the real people can't do it at all. They're such fools that they think style comes by nature to people in their position, and so they never learn.
Yes, that's what drives me mad. The silly people don't know their own silly business. However, it is over and done with, and now I can go to bed at last without dreading tomorrow.
Oh, I think I shall turn in too. Still, it's been a great occasion, a triumph for you. Good night.
Good night. Put out the lights, Eliza, and tell Mrs. Pierce not to make coffee in the morning. I'll take tea instead. What the devil have I done with my slippers?
There are your slippers. And there, take your slippers, and may you never have a day's luck with them.
What on earth? What's the matter? Get up. Anything wrong?
Nothing wrong with you. I've won your debts for you, haven't I? That's enough for you. I don't matter, I suppose.
You won my bet. You presumptuous insect. I won it. What did you throw those slippers at me for?
Because I wanted to smash your face. I'd like to kill you, you selfish brute. Why didn't you leave me where you picked me out of? In the gutter! You thank God it's all over, and now you can just throw me back again. Do you?
Oh, the creature is nervous after all.
Ah!
Ah, would you close in, you cat? How dare you show your temper to me? Sit down and be quiet.
What's to become of me? What's to become of me?
How the devil do I know what's to become of you? What does it matter what becomes of you?
You don't care. I know you don't care. You wouldn't care if I was dead. I'm nothing to you. Not too much as them slippers.
Those slippers!
Those slippers! I didn't think it made any difference now.
Why have you begun going on like this? May I ask whether you complain of your treatment here?
No.
Has anybody behaved badly to you? Colonel Pickering, Mrs. Pierce, any of the servants?
No.
I presume you won't pretend that I have treated you badly.
No.
I am glad to hear it. Perhaps you're tired after the strain of the day. Will you have a glass of champagne?
No. Thank you.
This has been coming on you for some days. I suppose it was natural for you to be anxious about the garden party, but that's all over now. There's nothing more to worry about.
No. Nothing more for you to worry about. Oh, God, I wish I was dead.
Why? In heaven's name, why? Listen to me, Eliza. All this irritation is purely subjective.
I don't understand. I'm too ignorant.
You know, it's only imagination. Low spirits and nothing else. Nobody's hurting you. Nothing's wrong. You go to bed like a good little girl and sleep it off. Have a cry and say your prayers. That will make you comfortable.
I heard your prayers. Thank God it's all over.
Well, don't you thank God it's all over? Now you are free and can do what you like.
What am I fit for? What have you left me fit for? Where am I to go? What am I to do? What's to become of me?
Oh, that's what's worrying you, is it? I shouldn't bother about it if I were you. I should imagine you won't have much difficulty in settling yourself somewhere or other, though I hadn't quite realized that you were going away. You might marry, you know. You're not bad looking. It's quite a pleasure to look at you sometimes. Not now, of course, when you're crying and looking as ugly as the very devil. But when you're all right and quite yourself, you're what I should call, attractive? That is, to the people in the marrying line, you understand. You go to bed and have a good night rest, and then get up and look at yourself in the glass, and you won't feel so cheap. I dare say my mother could find some
We
chap
were
or
above
other.
that at the corner of Tottenham Court Road.
What do you mean?
I sold flowers. I didn't sell myself. Now you've made a lady of me and I'm not fit to sell anything else. I wish you left me where you found me.
You torch, Eliza. Don't you insult human relations by dragging all this cant about buying and selling into it. You needn't marry the fellow if you don't like him.
What else am I to do?
Lots of things. What about your old idea of a florist shop? Pickering could set you up in one. He's lots of money. Come, you'll be all right. I must clear off to bed. I'm devilishly sleepy. By the way, I came down for something. Oh, I forgot what it was.
Your slippers?
Oh, yes, of course. You shied them at me.
Before you go, sir,
Eh?
do my clothes belong to me or to Colonel Pickering?
What the devil use would they be to Pickering?
You might want to use them for the next girl you pick up to experiment on.
Oh, is that the way you feel towards us?
I don't want to hear anything more about that. All I want to know is whether anything belongs to me. My own clothes were burnt.
But what does it matter? Why need you start bothering about that in the middle of the night?
I want to know what I might take away with me. I don't want to be accused of stealing.
Stealing? You shouldn't have said that, Eliza. That is a want of feeling.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm only a common ignorant girl, and in my station I have to be careful. There can't be any feelings between the like of you and the like of me. Please, will you tell me what belongs to me and what doesn't?
You may take the whole damned houseful if you like, except the jewels, they're hired. Will that satisfy you?
Stop, please. Will you take these to your room and keep them safe? I don't want to run the risk of their being missing.
Give them to me. If these belonged to me instead of to the jeweler, I'd ram them down your ungrateful throat.
This ring isn't the jeweler's. It's the one you brought me in Brighton. I don't want it now. Don't you hit me!
Hit you? You infamous creature! How dare you accuse me of such a thing? It is you who have hit me. You have wounded me to the heart.
I'm glad. I've got a little of my own back anyhow.
You have caused me to lose my temper, a thing that has hardly ever happened to me before. I prefer to say nothing more tonight. I am going to bed.
You'd better leave a note for Mrs. Pierce about the coffee, for she won't be told by me.
Oh, damn Mrs. Pierce, and damn the coffee, and damn you, and damn my own folly in having lavished my hard-earned knowledge and the treasure of my regard and intimacy on a heartless gutter snipe!
Mr. Henry, ma'am, is downstairs with Colonel Pickering.
Well, show them off.
They're using the telephone, ma'am. Telephoning the police, I think.
What?
Mr. Henry's in a state, ma'am. I thought I'd better tell you.
If you told me that Mr. Henry was not in a state, it would have been more surprising. Tell them to come up when they finished with the police. I suppose he's lost something.
Yes, ma'am.
Go upstairs and tell Miss Doolittle that Mr. Henry and the Colonel are here. Ask her not to come down until I send for her.
Yes, ma'am.
Look here, Mother. Here's a confounded thing.
Yes, dear. Good morning. What is it?
Eliza's bolted.
You must have frightened her.
Frightened her? Oh, nonsense. She was left last night as usual to turn out the lights and all that, and instead of going to bed, she changed her clothes and went right off. Her bed wasn't even slept in. She came in a cab for her things before 7 in the morning, and that fool Mrs. Pierce let her have them without telling me a word about it. But what am I to do?
Do without, I'm afraid, Henry. That girl has the perfect right to leave if she chooses.
But I can't find anything. I don't know what my appointments are.
Good morning, Mrs. Higgins. As Henry told you.
What does that ass of an inspector say? Have you offered a reward?
Do you mean to say that you set the police after Eliza?
Of course. What are the police for? What else could we do?
The inspector made a lot of difficulties. I really think he suspected us of some improper purpose.
Well, of course he did. What right have you to go to the police and give the girl's name, as if she were a thief, or a lost umbrella, or something really?
But we want to find her.
We can't let her go like this, you know, Mrs. Higgins. What are we to do?
You have no more sense, either of you, than two children.
But Mr. Henry, a gentleman wants to see you very particular. He's been sent on from Wimpole Street.
Oh, bother. I can't see anyone right now. Who is it?
A Mr. Doolittle, sir.
Doolittle? Do you mean the dustman?
Dustman? Oh, no, sir, a gentleman.
By George, Pick, it's some relative of hers that she's gone to, somebody we know nothing about. Send him up quick.
Yes, sir.
Genteel relatives, now we shall hear something.
Do you know any of her people?
Only her father, the fellow we told you about.
Mr. Doolittle.
See here? Do you see this? You done this!
Done what, man?
This I'll tell you! Look at it! Look at his arm! Look at his coat!
Has Eliza been buying you clothes?
Eliza? Not she. Not I. Why would she buy me clothes?
Good morning, Mr. Doolittle. Won't you sit down?
Asking your pardon, ma'am. What has happened to me? I can't think of anything else.
What the dickens has happened to you?
Well, I shouldn't mind if it had only happened to me. Anything might happen to anybody, and nobody to blame but Providence, as you might say. But this is something that you've done to me. Yes, you, Henry Higgins.
Have you found Eliza? That's the point.
Have you lost her?
Yes.
You have all the luck you have. I ain't found her, but she'll find me quick enough after what you've done to me.
But what has my son done to you, Mr. Doolittle?
Done to me, ruined me, destroyed me happiness, tied me up and delivered me into the hands of middle-class morality.
You're raving. You're drunk and you're mad. I gave you £5. After that, I had 2 conversations with you at £0.50 an hour. I've never seen you since.
Drunk, am I? Mad, am I? Tell me this. Did you, or did you not, write a letter to an old blotter in America that was giving 5 millions to moral reform society all over the world, and then you wanted to invent him a universal language?
What? Ezra D. Waterfeller? Why, he's dead.
Yes, he's dead, and I'm done for. Now, did you or did you not write a letter to him to say that the most original moralist at present in England, to the best of your knowledge, was Alfred Doolittle, a common dustman?
Oh, after your last visit, I do remember making some silly joke of that kind.
You call it a joke? Put it on me right enough. Just give him a chance he wanted to show that Americans is not like us, that they recognize and respect Americans every class of life, however humble. And then words in his blooming will, in which, Henry Higgins, thanks to your silly joking, he leaves me a share in his pre-digested cheese trust with 3,000 a year. The only condition that I lecture for is one fellow moral reform World League as often as they ask me.
The devil he does! Oh, what a lark!
A safe thing for you, Doolittle. They won't ask you twice.
It ain't the lecturing I'm on. I'll lecture them doing offence. It's the making of a gentleman of me that I object to. Who asked them to make a gentleman of me? I was happy. I was free. I touched pretty nigh everybody for money when I wanted it. Same as I touched you, Henry Higgins. Now everybody touches me for money. The doctors used to shove me out the hospital before I could even stand up, and nothing to pay. Now they find out I'm not a healthy man and can't live unless they looked after me twice a day. A year ago, I hadn't a relative in the world, except for 2 or 3 that would speak to me. Now of 50, not a decent week's wages among a lot of them. I have to live for others and not for myself. That's middle-class morality. Eliza could support herself easy by selling flowers if I wasn't so respectable. The next one to touch me will be you, Henry Higgins. I have to learn to speak middle-class language from you, and I dare say that's what you've done it for.
But Mr. Doolittle, you need not suffer all this earnest. No one can force you to accept this bequest. You can repeat it. Isn't that so, Colonel Pickering?
I believe so.
That's the tragedy of it, man. It's easy to say chuck it, but I haven't the nerve. Which one of us has? I don't know what happiness is. But I, as one of the undeserving poor, have nothing between me and the pauper's uniform but this here blasted 3,000 a year that shoves me into the middle class. It's a choice between the skilly of the workhouse and the Charybdis of the middle class. I haven't the nerve of the workhouse. Broke, bought up, happier men than me will call for my dust and touch me for their tip, and I'll look on helpless and envy them. And that's what your son has brought me to.
Well, I'm glad you're not determined to do anything foolish, Mr. Doolittle, for this solves the problem of Eliza's future. You can provide for her now.
Yes, ma'am. I'm expected to provide for everyone now on 3,000 a year.
Oh, nonsense! He can't provide for her! He shan't provide for her! She doesn't belong to him! I paid him £5 for her. Doolittle, either you're an honest man or you're a rogue.
Little both, and you like the rest of us. Little both.
Well, you took that money for the girl, and you have no right to take her as well.
Henry, don't be absurd. If you really want to know where Eliza is, she is upstairs.
Upstairs? Oh, then I shall jolly soon fetch her downstairs.
Be quiet, Henry. Sit down.
But, Mother!
Sit down, dear, and listen to me.
Oh, very well, very well. But I think you might have told us this half an hour ago.
Eliza came to me this morning. She passed the night partly walking in a rage, partly trying to throw herself into the river and being afraid to, and partly in the Carlton Hotel. She told me of the brutal way you two treated her.
What?
Oh, my dear Mrs. Higgins, she's been telling you stories. We didn't treat her brutally, we hardly said a word to her, and we parted on particularly good terms. Higgins, did you bully her after I went to bed?
Well, just the other way about. She threw my slippers in my face. She behaved in the most outrageous way. I never gave her the slightest provocation. The slippers came bang into my face the moment I entered the room, before I had uttered a word, and used perfectly awful language.
But why? What did we do to her?
I think I know pretty well what you did. The girl is naturally rather affectionate, I think. Isn't she, Mr. Doolittle?
Very tender-hearted, Mum. Takes after me.
Just so. She had become attached to you both. She worked very hard for you, Henry. Well, it seems that when the great day of trial came, and she did this wonderful thing for you, without a single mistake, you two sat there and never said a word to her, but talked together about how glad you were that it was all over, and how you'd been bored with the whole thing. And then you were surprised because she threw your slippers at you. I should have thrown the fire irons at you.
We said nothing except that we were tired and wanted to go to bed, didn't we, Pick?
That was all.
Quite sure?
Absolutely. Really, that was all.
You didn't thank her, or pet her, or admire her, or tell her how splendid she did?
Yeah, but she knew about all of that. We didn't make speeches to her, if that's what you mean.
Perhaps we were a little inconsiderate. Is she very angry?
Well, I'm afraid she won't be going back to Wimpole Street, especially now that Mr. Doolittle is able to keep up the position you have thrust upon her. But she says she is quite willing to meet you on friendly terms, and let bygones be bygones.
Oh, is she, by George?
If you promise to behave yourself, Henry, I'll ask her to come down. If not, go home, for you have taken up quite enough of my time.
Oh, all right. Very well. Pickering, you behave yourself. Let us put on our best Sunday manners for this creature that we picked out of the mud.
Now, Henry Higgins. Have some consideration for my feelings as a middle-class man.
Remember your promise, Henry. Mr. Doolittle, will you be so good as to step out onto the balcony for a moment? I don't want Eliza to have the shock of the news until she's made up with these two gentlemen. Would you mind?
As you wish, lady. Anything to help Henry keep her off my hands.
Ask Miss Doolittle to come down, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Henry, be good.
I am behaving myself perfectly.
He is doing his best, Mrs. Higgins.
Henry, dearest, you don't look at all nice in that attitude.
I was not trying to look nice, Mother.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I only wanted to make you speak.
Why?
Because you can't speak and whistle at the same time.
Where the devil is that girl? Are we to wait here all day?
How do you do, Professor Higgins? Are you quite well?
Am I?
But of course you are. You are never ill. So glad to see you again, Colonel Pickering. Quite chilly this morning, isn't it?
Oh, don't you dare try this game on me. I taught it to you, and it does not take me in. Get up and come home, and don't be a fool.
Very nicely put, Henry. No woman could resist such an invitation.
Oh, you let her alone, Mother. Let her speak for herself. You will jolly soon see whether she has an idea that I haven't put into her head, or a word that I haven't put into her mouth. I tell you, I have created this thing out of the squashed cabbage leaves of Covent Garden, and now she pretends to play the fine lady with me.
Yes, dear, but won't you sit down?
Will you drop me altogether now that the experiment is over, Colonel Pickering?
Oh, don't. You mustn't think of it as an experiment. It shocks me somehow.
Oh, but I'm only a squashed cabbage leaf.
No.
But I owe so much to you that I should be very unhappy if you forgot me.
It's very kind of you to say so, Miss Doolittle.
It's not because you paid for my dresses. I know how generous you are to everybody with money. But it was from you that I learnt really nice manners. And that is what makes me a lady, isn't it? You see, it was so very difficult for me with the example of Professor Higgins always before me. I was brought up to be just like him, unable to control myself, using bad language at the slightest provocation. But I should never have known that ladies and gentlemen didn't behave like that if you hadn't been there.
Well,
Oh, that's only his way, you know. He doesn't mean it.
No, I didn't mean it either. When I was a flower girl, it was only my way. But you see I did it. And that's what makes the difference after all.
No doubt. Still, he taught you to speak, and I couldn't have done that, you know.
Well, of course, that is his profession.
damnation.
It was just like learning to dance in a fashionable way. There's nothing more to it than that. But you know what began my real education?
What?
Your calling me Miss Doolittle that day when I first came to Wimpole Street. That was the beginning of real self-respect for me. And there were 100 little things you never noticed because they came naturally to you. Things about standing up and taking off your hat and opening doors.
Oh, that was nothing.
Yes, things that showed you thought and felt about me as if I was something better than a scullery-maid. Though, of course, I know you'd been just the same to a scullery-maid if she had been let in the drawing room. You never took off your boots in the dining room when I was there.
You mustn't mind that. Higgins takes off his boots all over the place.
I know. I am not blaming him. It was his way, isn't it? But it made such a difference to me that you didn't do it. You see, really and truly, apart from things anyone can pick up, like the dressing and the proper way of speaking, the difference between a lady and a flower girl is not how she behaves, but how she's treated. I shall always be a flower girl to Professor Higgins, because he always treats me as a flower girl, and always will. But I know I can be a lady to you, because you always treat me as a lady, and always will.
Please don't grind your teeth, Henry.
Well, this is really very nice of you, Miss Doolittle.
I should like you to call me Eliza now, if you would.
Thank you. Eliza, of course.
And I should like Professor Higgins to call me Miss Doolittle.
Oh, I'll see you damned first.
Henry!
Why don't you slank back at him? Don't stand it. Do him a lot of good.
I can't. I could have done it once, but now I can't get back to it. Last night, when I was wandering about, a girl spoke to me, and I tried to get back into the old way with her, but it was no use. You tell me, you know, that when a child is brought into a foreign country, it picks up the language in a few weeks and forgets sounds. Well, I am a child in your country. I have forgotten my own language and can speak nothing but yours.
Oh, but you're coming back to Wimpole Street, are you? You'll forgive Higgins.
Forgive? Oh, will she, by George? Let her go. Let her find out how she can get on without us. She will relapse into the gutter in 3 weeks without me at her hand.
She's incorrigible, Eliza. You won't relapse, will you?
No, not now. Never again. I have learnt my lesson. I don't believe I could utter another one of the old sounds, even if I tried.
Ha! Just so. Victory! Victory!
Can you blame the girl? Don't look at me like that, Eliza. It ain't my fault. I've come into money.
You must have touched a millionaire this time, Dad.
That I have. But I'm dressed something special today. I'm going to St. George's, Hanover Square. Your stepmother's going to marry me.
You're daring to let yourself down to marry that low, common woman?
He ought to, Eliza. Why has she changed her mind?
Intimidated, Governor. Intimidated. Middle-class morality claimed its victim. Won't you put your hat on, Eliza, and come and see me turned off?
If the Colonel says I must, I'll demean myself. I'll get insulted for my pains like an elf.
Don't be afraid. She never comes to words with anyone now, poor woman. Respectability broke all the spirit out of her.
Be kind to them, Eliza. Make the best of it.
Oh, well. Just to show there's no ill feeling. I'll be back in a moment.
I feel uncommon nervous about the ceremony, Colonel. I wish you'd come and see me through it.
But you've been through it before, man. You were married to Eliza's mother.
I told you that, Colonel.
Well, nobody told me, but I could include it naturally.
No, that ain't the natural way, Colonel. It's only the middle-class way. My way was always the undeserving way. But don't say anything to Eliza. She don't know. I always had a delicacy about telling her.
Quite right. We'll leave it so if you don't mind.
And you'll come to the church, Colonel, and put me through straight.
Yeah, with pleasure. As far as a bachelor can.
May I come, Mr. Doolittle? I should be very sorry to miss your wedding.
I should indeed be honoured by your condescension, Madam. My poor old woman would take it as a tremendous compliment. She's been very low, thinking of the happy days that are no more.
I'll go order the carriage and get ready. I shan't be more than 15 minutes. I'm going to the church to see your father married, Eliza. You better come in the brougham with me. Colonel Pickering will go with the bridegroom.
Bridegroom, what a word.
Before
Man realizes position somehow.
before I go, Eliza, do forgive them and come back to us.
I don't think Papa would allow me. Would you, Dad?
They played you one very cunning, Eliza, nephew sportsman. It was artful of you, Colonel. What I badly know is I should have done the same myself. I've been the victim of one woman after another all my life, and I don't grudge you two for getting the better of Eliza. It's time for us to go, Colonel. See you in St. George's, Eliza.
Do stay with us, Eliza.
Well, Eliza, you've had a bit of your own back, as you call it. Have you had enough? And are you going to be reasonable, or do you want any more?
You want me back only to pick up your slippers and put up with your tempers and fetch and carry for you.
I haven't said I wanted you back at all.
Oh, indeed. And what are we talking about?
About you, not about me. If you come back, I shall treat you just as I have always treated you. I can't change my nature, and I don't intend to change my manners. My manners are exactly the same as Colonel Pickering's.
That's not true. He treats a flower girl as if she was a duchess.
And I treat the Duchess as if she was a flower girl.
No, I see. The same to everybody.
Oh, just so.
Like father.
Without accepting the comparisons at all points, Eliza, it's quite true that your father is not a snob, and that he will be quite at home in any station of life to which his eccentric destiny may call him. The great secret, Eliza, is not having bad manners or good manners or any other particular sort of manners, but having the same manner for all human souls. In short, behaving as if you were in heaven, where there are no third-class carriages, and one soul is as good as another.
Amen. You are a born preacher.
The question is not whether I treated you rudely, but whether you have ever heard me treat anyone else better.
I don't care how you treat me. I don't mind your swearing at me. I don't mind a block I had one before this. But I won't be passed over.
Then get out of my way, for I won't help you. You talk about me as if I were a motor bus.
You are a motor bus. I'll bounce and go with no consideration for anyone. But I can do without you. Don't think I can't.
Oh, I know you can. I told you you could.
I know you did, you brute. You wanted to get rid of me.
Oh, liar.
Thank you.
You never asked yourself, I suppose, whether I could do without you.
Don't you try to get round me. You'll have to do without me.
Well, I can do without anybody. I have my own soul, my own spark of divine fire. But I shall miss you, Eliza. I have learnt something from your idiotic notions. I confess that, humbly and gratefully. And I have grown accustomed to your voice and appearance. I like them, rather.
Well, you have both of them on your gramophone and in your book of photographs. When you feel lonely without me, you can turn the machine on. It's got no feelings to hurt.
Well, I can't turn your soul on. Leave me those feelings, and you can take away the voice and the face. They are not you.
Oh, you are a devil! You can twist the heart in a girl as easy as some can twist her arms to hurt her. Mrs. Pierce warned me. Time and again she has wanted to leave you, and you always got round to her at the last minute. You don't care a bit for her, and you don't care a bit for me.
Well, I care for life, for humanity. And you are a part of it that has come my way and been built into my house. What more can you or anyone else ask?
I won't care for anybody that doesn't care for me.
Your commercial principles, Eliza, like selling voilets, isn't it?
Don't sneer at me. It's rude to sneer at me.
You have never sneered in my life. Sneering doesn't become either the human face or the human soul. I am expressing my righteous contempt for commercialism. I don't and won't trade in affection. You call me a brute because you couldn't buy a claim on me by fetching my slippers and finding my spectacles. You were a fool. I think a woman fetching a man's slippers is a disgusting sight. Did I ever fetch your slippers? I think a great deal more of you for throwing them in my face. If you come back for the sake of good fellowship, for you'll get nothing else. And if you dare to set up your little dog's tricks of fetching and carrying slippers against my creation of a Duchess Eliza, I will slam the door in your face.
What did you do it for if you didn't care for me?
Why, because it was my job.
You never thought of the trouble it would make for me.
Would the world ever have been made if its maker had been afraid of making trouble? Making life means making trouble. There's only one way of escaping trouble, and that's killing things. Cowards, you notice, are always shrieking to have troublesome people killed.
Well, I'm no preacher. I don't notice things like that. I notice that you don't notice me.
Eliza, you're an idiot. I waste the treasures of my Miltonic mind by spreading them before you. Once for all, understand that I go my way and do my work without caring twopence what happens to either of us. I am not intimidated like your father and your stepmother, so you can come back or go to the devil, whichever you please.
What am I to come back for?
For the fun of it. That's why I took you on.
You may throw me out tomorrow if I don't do anything you want me to.
Yes, and you may walk out tomorrow if I don't do everything you want me to.
And live with my stepmother?
Yes, to sell flowers.
Oh, if only I could go back to my flower basket. Then I should be independent of both you and father and all the world. Why did you take my independence from me? Why did I give it up? I'm a slave now for my fine clothes.
Not a bit. I'll adopt you as my daughter and settle money on you if you like. Or would you rather marry Pickering?
I couldn't marry you if you asked me. And you're nearer my age than what he is.
Then he is, not then what he is.
I'll talk as I like. You're not my teacher now.
I don't suppose Pickering would, though. He's as confirmed an old bachelor as I am.
That's not what I want, and don't you think it. I've always had chaps enough wanting me that way. Freddie Hill writes to me 2 and 3 times a day, sheets and sheets.
Damn his impudence!
He's right if he likes to, poor lad. And he does love me.
You have no right to encourage him.
Every girl has a right to be loved.
What? By fools like that?
Well, Freddie's not a fool. And if he's weak and poor and wants me, well, maybe he'd make me happier than my betters that bully me and don't want me.
Can he make anything of you? That's the point.
Perhaps I can make something of him. I never thought of us making anything of one another, and you never think of anything else. I only want to be natural.
In short, you want me to be as infatuated about you as Freddie, is that it?
No, I don't. That's not the sort of feeling I want from you. And don't you be too sure of yourself or me. I could have been a bad girl if I liked. I've seen more of some things than you, for all your learning. Girls like me can make gentlemen fall in love with them easy enough, and they wish each other dead the next minute.
Of course they do. Then what in thunder are we quarrelling about?
I want a little kindness. I know I'm a common ignorant girl, and you a book-learned gentleman, but I'm not dirt under your feet. What I did, was not for the dresses and the taxis. I did it because we were pleasant together, and I came to care for you, not to want you to fall in love with me, and not forgetting the difference between us, but more friendly like.
Well, of course. That's just how I feel, and how Pickering feels. Eliza, you're a fool.
That's not a proper answer to give me.
It's all you'll get until you stop being a common idiot. You find me cold, unfeeling, selfish, do you? Very well, be off with you to the sort of people you like. Marry some sentimental hog, or others with lots of money, and a thick pair of lips to kiss you with, and a thick pair of boots to kick you with. If you can't appreciate what you've got, you'd better get what you can appreciate.
Oh, you are a cruel tyrant. I can't talk to you. You turn everything against me. I'm always in the wrong. But you know very well all the time that you're nothing but a bully. You know I can't go back to the gutter, as you call it, and that I have no real friends in the world but you and the Colonel. You know well I couldn't bear to live with a low common man after you two. And it's wicked and cruel of you to insult me by pretending I could. I'll marry Freddie, I will, as soon as he's able to support me.
How rubbish! You shall marry an ambassador. You shall marry the Governor-General of India or the Lord Lieutenant of Ireland, or somebody who wants a deputy queen. I'm not going to have my masterpiece thrown away on Freddie.
You think I like you to say that. But I haven't forgotten what you said a minute ago, and I won't be coaxed round as if I was a baby or a puppy. If I can't have kindness, I'll have independence.
Independence? That's middle-class blasphemy. We're all dependent on one another, every soul of us on earth.
I'll let you see whether I'm dependent on you. If you can preach, or I can teach. I'll go and be a teacher.
And what do you teach in heaven's name?
What you taught me, I'll teach phonetics. I'll offer myself as an assistant to Professor Napon.
What? That impostor? That humbug? That toadying ignoramus? Teach him my methods, my discoveries. You take one step in his direction and I'll wring your neck. Do you hear?
Ring away. What do I care? I knew you'd strike me some day. Now I know how to deal with you. What a fool I was not to think of it before. You can't take away the knowledge you gave me. And you said I had a finer ear than you. I can be kind and civil to people too, which is more than you can. That's done you, Henry Higgins, it has. Now I don't care for your bullying and your big talk. I'll advertise it in the papers that your duchess is only a flower girl that you taught, and that she'll teach anybody to be a duchess just the same in 6 months for 1,000 guineas. And I think of myself crawling under your feet and being trampled on and called names. One of the time I had only lift up my finger to be as good as you, I could just kick myself.
Oh, you damned impotent ass, you. But it's better than snivelling, better than fetching slippers and binding spectacles, isn't it? By George, Eliza, I said I'd make a woman of you, and I have. I like you like this.
Ah, yes. You turn around and make up to me now that I'm not afraid of you and can do without you.
Oh, of course I do, you little fool. 5 minutes ago, you were like a millstone round my neck. Now you're a tower of strength, a consort battleship. You and I and Pickering will be 3 old bachelors together instead of only 2 men and a silly girl.
The carriage is waiting, Eliza. Are you ready?
Quite. Is the professor coming?
Certainly not. He can't behave himself in church. He makes remarks out loud all the time on the clergyman's pronunciations.
Well, then I shall not see you again, Professor. Goodbye.
Goodbye, dear.
Goodbye, Mother. Oh, by the way, Eliza, order a ham and a Stilton cheese, will you? And buy me a pair of reindeer gloves, number 8s, and a tie to match that new suit of mine at Eel and Binion's. You can choose the color.
Buy them yourself.
I'm afraid you've spoiled the girl, Henry. I suppose I'll buy you the tie and gloves.
Oh, don't bother. She's going to marry Freddie. Freddie, I can't believe it. Marriage!